Bonjour, tanse, hola, salom, salut. Okay, that's all I got. Good morning. My name is Jo. I'm Anishinaabe, and I belong to the Ojibwe Nation. We're an Indigenous community here in Canada. And I'd like to share with you this morning this little adventure I've been on, which is perfect because TED's about adventure. But wait, before I do that, I have to show you something. And it's this. I know it's a rock. But in my community, this is considered the grandfathers. And whoever holds it has the attention of all of you. But because you are the listeners, you are not only honoring the speaker, you are honoring the community that's from the past, the present, and the future. So thank you for that. Now my adventure. Well, it started about 18 months ago, and I was completing a project. I had been directing a play that I had written and adapted for grade 7 to 9 students. Now in this play, these students who were English language learners and initially didn't want to do the project, but they had this amazing teacher named Tessa, who is this feisty, brilliant, wonderful woman whose encouragement allowed for the students to not only perform in front of their peers, but to go out to another school to perform. Success, right? Well, I saw success happening in rehearsals. And it began when these students, these English language learner students, took the play. They owned the play. And I saw them fighting over parts, changing lines, which every playwright loves when you do that. And then, but it was that one kid, because there is always one, who Googled how to find a Hollywood agent. So I knew it was success. Now, because I spent so much time with the kids, we had this language exchange going on. And I'd ask them how to say certain words because of something that happened to me a few years ago. And I gathered up this list of this word because this word causes great movement within me and the emotions that arise from it. So here's the list. And because when this was in my hair, and I responded like this, and that is a universal word. But I was screaming, "Spider, spider!" And one of the kids thought I was saying, "Fire, fire," ran out the door, down the hall. I'm chasing after him because he's ready to pull the fire alarm. So, yeah, that would have been a fun conversation between the principal and the fire department. Well, the kids know I can't speak Ojibwe. And some of them assumed it's because of the residential school. But I'm a product of the 60s scoop. And that was an era between 1960 and 1980 in which Aboriginal families, their children were scooped or wrongly apprehended. And I had been living with my aunt for the start of my life, and she's fluent in Ojibwe. She went to work one morning, she comes home, and I'm gone. I'd been scooped. We did not see each other for 30 years. And I lost the ability to speak Ojibwe. Well, I didn't want the kids, as we were talking about this, to get caught up in, whose life story is more tragic. Because some of my students in the EAL program, English Language Learners, they've come from pretty horrific situations. And I wanted them to be very clear as an educator that their identity isn't tied up with all the horrible things that happened to them. Their identity, those are just horrible things, but their identity of who they are, is their dreams, what their plans for the future, what do they want to become? And I knew that this kind of was my dream. I wanted to work in a place like this where I could be with kids and language and culture. So, threw it out to the universe. A few days later, I get a call from a friend to come and substitute teach. And it was for a very unique school here in the city. And she who's fluent in Cree, wanted me to come and help in the Ojibwe language program. Now, I don't speak the language, and she said, don't worry, it's just for a few days. You're just going to substitute for a few days, and I'll help you. Well, that was last year, and I have written over hundreds of report cards assessing language skills because I'm still there. So, now what? Well, this school is so incredibly unique. We have elders who teach our ceremonies. We have a beautiful lodge room. We have students learning 2 languages. And many, many people worked very hard for a school like this. And my first semester, it was brutal. I had to hit the ground running. I had to, first of all, find Ojibwe language classes, which is pretty tricky here. I had to opt for books and CDs, and thank goodness for YouTube videos. I was so excited when I found the online Ojibwe dictionary. But the holy grail was this, my Ojibwe app. Yeah. So with that in hand, I set about trying to teach a language I don't speak. And I struggled, and I stumbled, and I pronounced things wrong, and all the while being very mindful of the fact that people worked very hard to have a school like this. My language holds my history, my people's history, my community's history. It also holds our code of conduct. And it also ties to the land, and it has how we sustain this land. So while I'm teaching, I'm remembering all this, and I'm saying words wrong, and I'm feeling like I'm failing my students, and I don't feel like they're learning. I will never be fluent is going through my head, and how am I going to get these kids engaged in order so that they'll be fluent? Well, by about, I guess, Christmas time, I thought, this is too tough. This is so hard. And kids deserve a better teacher and better teachings than this. And so I decided I was going to quit. Now, one of the elders came up and talked to me, and she said to come into the lodge room. And this is where we hold our ceremonies, where our kids smudge and they have teachings. And it's a place where we get centered to start our day. And she said to me, I want you to do something. And I'm, okay. She goes, stop worrying. She says, we're so happy you're here. She says, you have such good energy. We're happy you're here. And she says, this place, yes, many people worked hard so that we could have a school like this. Because people in the past could be arrested for speaking our languages. People in the past could be arrested, like me, for showing you our grandfather. Now, I thought about what she said, and I thought, okay, she's right. I need to stop worrying. I need to stop worrying and just teach. So I thought some more, and from there, I realized I needed to find the humor and the joy that I felt in working with the students in EAL. And I remember I have a very, very wise instructor by the name of Barb Shearer at the University of Winnipeg. And she talked about this space that needed to be created. So I kept that in my mind while I was teaching. And this space needed to have humor. So I began to look for it in the language. Now, in our language, we say hello, bonjour, hello. And we don't have a word for goodbye. We say thank you, miigwech. But we don't say you are welcome. We have one of the most powerful words that you can say to another human being. And it's gisha wenimen. I love you. We do not have a word for cyberstalking. Yeah. Restraining order? Yeah. Okay. Okay, moving on. No. Yeah. You know, I decided that, I started having fun with the language, so I decided I'm gonna go out in the community, and I am going, next time I go to a restaurant, I'm going to try to order some food. So I thought, yeah, so it's something simple. I know, coffee, and I'm gonna order blueberry pie. No, I'm not. Well, as you can see, the language is pretty long, and now maybe you have a little understanding why I was tripping over the words and really, really struggling, and why it was so important. But as it happens, I carried on, and again, I decided I needed to do something more. I needed to go out into the community and start talking about language. So I tried to figure out a way that I could get people to come talk to me. And I thought, a lemonade stand. And people did. And I gave them one word to say, to try. And now you're going to try with me. All right, as I do with my students, be my echo. Mama, kaden, da, goze. Mama kaden, da goze. And you know what it means? You are awesome. You are amazing. That's all it means. Having this stand, I realized something, that people want to be heard. Everybody wants to be heard. And everyone has something to say. And everyone has something wonderful to say. So, before I go, I want to leave you with something. My students have painted some grandfathers. And like the space Barb talked about, and I learned off from her, is that if you would like, you can have a grandfather. I'll leave them in the lobby. And you all can go out and create that safe space. And whatever language you use, listen to what the world has to say. Miigwech.